In my last life, my sister Cora and I were married to twin alpha heirs. Our union was meant to forge an empire. I married the older brother, Aiden. He became the alpha, and I his Luna. I dedicated my life to the pack's glory. Cora married the younger brother, Reese. After Aiden defeated him for the alpha title, Reese became a monster. Twisted and cruel, he tortured Cora daily until his own mysterious death. After Reese died, Cora was discovered to be pregnant. Everyone thought it was Reese's last heir. The day she gave birth, Cora bled out and died. And I never gave Aiden the strong heir he craved. So we raised Cora's child. I gave him everything. It wasn't until Aiden was on his deathbed that I heard him tell the boy the truth. Your mother Cora's death was Elena's fault. All her kindness to you was a lie. You are my son. My flesh and blood with Cora. Your so-called father, Reese, his weak blood could never have created a powerful alpha like you. My son, after I die, you must avenge your true mother. The herbs in my hand crashed to the floor. The boy I raised stormed out. Then he used his immense alpha power to choke my life. But the moon goddess showed me mercy. She gave me a second chance. When I opened my eyes, I was back. This time, I would shatter this sham of a marriage with my own hands. But I never expected that this time, something about Aiden would be different. I only learned on my deathbed that my mate, Alpha Aiden, had always loved my two-faced sister, Cora. And the heir I'd spent my entire life raising was his secret son with her. When I opened my eyes again, I was back at my Luna coronation ceremony. Tonight, under the watchful eye of the moon goddess, the Alpha will place the Luna crown upon his mate. From the sacred altar, the elder's solemn voice boomed. Hundreds of pack members held their breath, waiting for the sacred moment. Everything was exactly as it had been in my past life. But I knew the truth. This honor was a mask for a lifetime of lies. I had died once before, murdered on a cold winter night by the very boy I had raised as my own son. The feeling of my bones snapping, my soul tearing from my body, the memory was still raw. Now the moon goddess has given me a second chance. I was back, just before my official mating ceremony with Aiden. Cora had already been mated to his brother Reese for 2 years. Even though we'd been in the Silver Moon pack for 3 years, Aiden had never touched me. He was waiting until after the Luna coronation. I'd always told myself it was out of respect. A way to honor me. Laughable. It was just an excuse to keep sleeping with Cora. And now Aiden stood before me, holding the moonstone-encrusted crown. There was no love on his handsome face. His golden eyes were filled with undisguised disgust. I froze in shock. In my last life, he hid that disgust behind a mask of cool indifference. He kept up the charade of a respectful, if distant, marriage for decades. But this time he wasn't even trying to pretend. Could it be? Was he reborn too? It didn't matter. I would not be the fool I was in my last life. I would not silently accept this crown of thorns. Not for my family's honor. Not for anything. No. My voice was quiet, but it cut through the silence of the hall. The word was barely out of my mouth before a sharp pain pierced my soul. The phantom of our former mate Bond, crying out in protest. Aiden froze, his brows slammed together. Everyone stared. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, swelling like a tide. I refuse, I said, lifting my chin. I looked straight into Aiden's shocked eyes and spoke, word by word. I reject your mark. And I refuse to be your Luna. The hall erupted. Elena! Elder Marcus shot up from his seat. What madness is this? Aiden's face went from shock to pure fury. He lowered his voice, a low growl only I could hear. Are you insane? Elena, don't you dare test me here. I slipped the moon goddess bracelet from my wrist. The symbol of our betrothal. I placed it gently on the altar. I've never been more clear-headed, Aiden. We are not meant to be. My gaze drifted past him, to the other side of the VIP section. My sister, Cora, sat there next to Aiden's twin brother Reese. Cora had her hand over her mouth in shock, but I didn't miss the flash of pure joy in her eyes. And her mate, Reese, he looked bored with the whole damn thing. He swirled the crimson wine in his glass, a mocking smirk playing on his lips. Aiden followed my gaze, and his face grew even darker. He whipped his head back to me, his eyes burning. What game are you playing now? Elena, don't think I don't know your schemes. Just like when you threw Cora under the bus to win the Blackwood Forest deal. For a second, the blood in my veins turned to ice. The Blackwood Forest project? That was a massive deal I orchestrated 5 years into our marriage. And throwing Cora under the bus was a lie he'd been fed. A misunderstanding he held against me. But right now, at this point in time, that project didn't even exist. I knew it. He came back to. No wonder his disgust was so raw, so unapologetic. In his reborn memory, I was a manipulative, wicked woman. And his sweet, innocent Cora was the one he was meant to love. Realizing this, I almost laughed. So, I said, my voice calm, almost pitying. Then what are you waiting for? A second later, it was as if he couldn't stand to be in the same room as me. He slammed the crown down on the altar and stormed away from the ceremony. He didn't return to his seat. He walked straight toward Reese and Cora. The hall descended into chaos. Aiden stopped in front of Cora, his eyes blazing with a mix of passion and apology. Cora, come with me. Cora's eyes welled with tears as she looked to Reese for help. Reese finally put down his wine glass. He lazily glanced up at his brother, then at his mate, and let out a short, harsh laugh. You want her, brother? He asked, his tone blunt and crude. Flinched. This is between me and Cora. Fine. Reese shrugged and stood up. She's all yours. I'm sick of this whiny little crybaby anyway. He broke his bond with Cora without a second thought, like he was tossing away a piece of trash. But I'll give you a piece of advice, Aiden, Reese said, leaning in close to his brother. His voice was just loud enough for those nearby to hear, full of theatrical amusement. Don't be a fool, brother. You're chasing a kitten and abandoning a lioness. A woman like Elena, she's a queen. She's the only one who can help you keep your throne. With that, Reese whistled a tune and sauntered out of the hall. He left behind a room full of stunned guests, and Aiden and Cora frozen. Their faces a mixture of fury and humiliation. In the end, Aiden ignored his brother's warning. He took Cora's hand and, under the complicated stares of everyone present, made a very public exit. I stood silently on the altar, watching it all unfold. Good. Aiden, Cora, Reese. The players were all on the board. The next morning, Aiden returned to the pack house with Cora on his arm. He publicly declared that Cora was his chosen mate. The elders called an emergency meeting. In the council room, Aiden sat at the head of the table. Cora was beside him, a victorious smile on her face. About the Blackwood Forest Energy Project, Elder Marcus began, clearing his throat. That project will be transferred to Cora. Aiden interrupted, his gaze sharp. She is my mate, and she has the right to manage it. As for Elena, a rejected Luna has no qualifications to handle pack business. I just stood there. I let his alpha command wash over me. It was useless. A tidal wave crashing against a cliff. The air grew thick with his power, and my soul ached from the fresh tear in our former bond. Maybe this was the price the moon goddess demanded for my second chance. He thought he could use his alpha status to make me bend. How pathetic. I agree, I said. My voice was so calm. You couldn't hear a ripple of emotion. I pulled several rolled-up parchment maps from my leather satchel and tossed them onto the long conference table. Here are all the land surveys for the Blackwood territory. I paused, then unhooked a sigil made from a wolf's fang from my belt and placed it on top of the maps. And this is the Warfang sigil. It commands the pack's warriors. Cora's eyes lit up. She eagerly reached out and snatched the sigil and maps, pulling them to her chest. The sigil still carried my scent, and she recoiled for a second as if burned. But greed won out. Wait, I said, placing my hand over hers. My eyes flickered over her before landing on Aiden. You can have it all, but there are a few bloody lessons our new Luna should learn. I pointed to one of the maps. The northern border of Blackwood is the Bloodclaw Pack's hunting ground. They've laid blood traps. Any wolf who crosses that line will be torn to shreds on sight. Cora, that cloying perfume you wear? It will be the perfect lure. Cora's face went pale. I pointed to another mark on a different map. The southern valley is the resting place of an ancient wolf spirit. disturb it, and the entire pack will be cursed. Cora, do you know whose bloodline the spirit demands for its appeasement ritual? The color drained from Cora's lips. She looked desperately to Aiden for help. Aiden's expression was grim. In this new life, he only remembered the victory. He'd forgotten the price. The blood and sacrifice it took to win it. Enough, he roared, unleashing his alpha command. The air in the room turned to ice. Elena, stop with your scare tactics and manipulative games. Cora will protect our lands just fine. I let out a soft laugh, completely unfazed by his pressure. All right. Then I wish your bloodline all the glory it deserves. My gaze fell on Cora. I added, oh, and one more thing. To activate the Warfang sigil, you have to chant the ancient wolf prayer. It's a secret passed down through Aiden's mother's line, only taught to a worthy Luna. I assume you don't know it. My words were a silver dagger straight to her heart. She didn't even have the power to command the pack's warriors. The public humiliation, the feeling of being crushed by me, made her eyes burn with a jealous fire. Aiden, she shrieked, her voice shrill and desperate. She's humiliating me. Are you just going to let her stand here? She latched onto him like a lifeline. According to the oldest pack laws, she cried, an unmarked female rejected by her alpha must be stripped of her name, her tattoo burned from her skin, and cast out. As a rogue. Elder Marcus's face fell. Cora, that's a death sentence. She'd lose the pack's protection. She'd be hunted and torn apart by other rogues or rival packs. But the law is the law. Cora sobbed, clutching Aiden's arm. Aiden, are you really going to let one treacherous woman undermine the very foundation of our laws? All eyes turned to Aiden. Just then, the conference room door creaked open. Reese was leaning against the frame, letting out a lazy yawn. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried clearly into the room. Not even his Luna for a full day, and you're already quoting ancient laws to have someone killed? You want to be a queen, but you can't even speak the old tongue? Reese's mocking gaze swept over Cora. Brother, your true love is a real piece of work. You're really going to make Elena a rogue? Are you trying to get us all killed? Aiden's body went rigid. He didn't look back. He just stared at me, his golden eyes churning with conflict and fury. Finally, he closed them. When he opened them again, there was only cold, hard resolve. Follow the law. I understand, I nodded. I accept exile. Marcus stood up in shock. Elena, you don't have to. No, Elder Marcus, I turned to him. Since I am no longer Aiden's mate, it's only right that I follow the ancient customs. A triumphant glint flashed in Cora's eyes. But before I leave, I continued, I want to settle our debts. When I walk out that door, we will owe each other nothing. Aiden frowned. What debts? I took a tablet from my briefcase and pulled up a detailed financial report. 3 years ago, my negotiations made the Iron Wolf Pack cede their mining rights in the Eastern Territories, bringing the Silvermoon Pack a profit of $1.2 billion. I swiped to the next page. 2 years ago, the business alliance I designed allowed us to absorb the territories of 3 smaller packs, valued at $800 million. Last year, the energy project I spearheaded increased the Silvermoon Pack's annual revenue by 300%, with a net profit of $1.5 billion. With every number I read, Elder Marcus's face grew paler. In total, I said, looking around at everyone, the direct economic value I created for the Silvermoon Pack is $3.5 billion. The indirect value? The reputation, the political power? That is incalculable. The room was dead silent. So today, I closed the tablet. I declare it all void. As of this moment, the Silvermoon Pack and I are even. We owe each other nothing. Marcus was aghast. Elena, those achievements were made while you were part of the Silvermoon Pack. They were made in my capacity as Aiden's mate. I cut him off. Since that status has been revoked, everything associated with it should be nullified as well. Aiden stared at me, his eyes narrowed. Are you threatening us? No. I shook my head. I'm stating a fact. Legally, I have the right to retract every contract signed under my name. That statement made everyone's face change, because the most important contracts had in fact been signed by me. But I won't do that, I continued, because as I said, we owe each other nothing. Cora grew anxious. Then what do you want? I don't want anything, I looked at her. But don't you dare think you'll get anything more from me either. A vicious light flickered in Cora's eyes. Fine. Then hand over everything that belongs to the Silvermoon Pack. Such as? The house you live in, Cora pointed out the window. The Alpha's villa. It's worth $5 million. I nodded, took the keys from my purse, and placed them on the table. And the car you drive, Cora went on. That Lamborghini, $800,000. I put the car keys on the table. Your bank cards, credit cards, all your accounts. Cora grew more excited with each word. As a rejected mate, you have no right to use any of the pack's resources. I placed all my cards on the table. Marcus looked at me with pity. Elena, this is too much. One more thing, Cora cut him off, pointing at my left forearm. Get rid of that tattoo. Everyone looked at my arm. There was an intricate wolf's head tattoo there. Aiden had marked me with it himself, a symbol of our mate bond. Cora, that's enough, Marcus finally snapped. Why is it enough? Cora turned to Aiden. Aiden, do you think a woman you rejected still has the right to wear your mark? Aiden looked at the tattoo on my arm, a flicker of pain in his eyes. But he still nodded. I understand. I picked up Elder Marcus's silver letter opener from the table. Elena, don't. Marcus tried to stop me. It's okay, I smiled at him. It's just a tattoo. I raised the blade. Without hesitation, I carved it into my own skin. Right over the tattoo. Silver is a werewolf's bane. The moment it touched my skin, searing pain shot through me, a burning agony. I felt my wolf spirit being forcibly torn, and a wave of nausea rose in my throat. 1 cut. 2. 3. With my own hands, I carved away the beautiful wolf he'd marked me with. I butchered it. Blood dripped onto the white floor, stark and shocking. But I felt a strange sense of release. That damned bond. I couldn't feel it anymore. Cora watched my bleeding arm, a sick look of satisfaction on her face. Aiden was pale as bone. I put the blade down and took a tissue from my purse to dab at the wound. Is there anything else you need me to hand over? My voice was still steady. Cora looked at the clothes I was wearing. The dressier. These are my own clothes. I cut her off. I had them before I ever came to the Silvermoon Pack. I slipped off my high heels, standing barefoot on the cold floor. These shoes, however, were bought by the pack. You can have them back. I placed the shoes on the table, then turned and walked toward the door. Wait, Aiden said suddenly. I stopped but didn't turn around. Where will you go? He asked, his voice hoarse. Somewhere you'll never find me, I said, not turning back. From this moment on, I am only Elena, and I am free of the Silvermoon Pack. I walked barefoot out the main gates of the Silvermoon Pack territory. A rusted-out pickup truck waited for me, a relic from my old life. The door didn't just creak, it screamed in protest as I pulled it open. Now it was my only way out. As I opened the door, I saw them. A pack of reporters, already waiting. Elena, over here. What does it feel like to be rejected by Alpha Aiden? Do you have anything to say to Lady Cora? Camera flashes blinded me. I knew Cora had arranged this whole spectacle. I ignored their questions and started the engine. The pain in my soul and body made me dizzy. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. We're live from Silvermoon territory, a reporter chirped into her camera, witnessing the fall of a queen. This is rock bottom for the once revered Luna Elena. The truck slowly pulled away from the territory. In the rearview mirror, I could see them still filming. My arm was still bleeding, staining the steering wheel red. My phone started buzzing non-stop. Social media notifications flooded the screen. Shocking. Former Silvermoon Luna kicked to the curb. Live feed. The most tragic rejected mate ever. Exclusive video. You won't believe what wreck she drove away in. I turned off my phone and focused on the road. It started to rain, pattering against the windshield. The wipers were broken. I could barely see. Suddenly, a black, armored SUV pulled in front of me, blocking my path. I slammed on the brakes. The truck skidded in the rain, nearly hitting the guardrail. The SUV door opened. A tall figure emerged. Even through the rain and my own pain, I could feel the raw power rolling off him in waves. Cale, the alpha of the Black Moon Pack, the most powerful pack in North America. He walked to my window and tapped on the glass. I rolled it down. Rain lashed my face. Elena, his voice was deep and magnetic. We need to talk. I have nothing to talk about, I said, looking straight ahead. Move. Where are you going? He didn't move. You're a rogue without protection and you're bleeding. Are you trying to attract every predator for 10 miles? I glanced down at my bleeding arm. That's none of your business. You're right, it's not, Cale nodded. But I have a proposition for you. What proposition? Join the Black Moon Pack, he said, his gaze cutting straight through me. Become my chief strategist. I stared at him. Why? Because you are worth far more than the Silver Moon Pack could ever comprehend, Cale said. I need talent like yours. I held his gaze for a long moment. You know my situation. I'm a rejected mate. A rogue. I know. Cale's voice was calm. But those labels don't define your abilities. The rain was coming down harder now, soaking both of us. Get in my car, Cale said, gesturing to his SUV. Let's at least get that wound taken care of. Aiden's POV. I stood by the floor-to-ceiling window, replaying the image of Elena slicing her own arm with that silver blade, not even flinching. For a moment, a tremor went through my very soul. No, that shouldn't happen. My phone screen was lit up with news alerts. Every headline was about Elena's exile. Aiden, what are you looking at? Cora came over, a triumphant smile still on her face. I clicked on a video link. The screen showed Elena, barefoot, walking toward that rusty red pickup. Her left arm was bleeding, a stark red stain on her white clothes. Reporters swarmed her, their flashes going off like lightning. But she never once looked back. Look at her, so pathetic, Cora said with a sneer. She got what she deserved. I stared at the pickup on the screen. That truck, I'd seen it somewhere before. Cora, I said suddenly. 3 years ago, when I was injured on the border, who saved me? Cora paused. It was me, of course. I risked my life, ran onto the battlefield and pulled you out. Are you sure? Of course I'm sure, she said, her voice full of self-righteousness. You'd lost too much blood. You were unconscious. I'm the one who drove you to the hospital. I tried to piece together the memories of that day. The ambush by the Bloodclaw Pack. A fierce battle. Then darkness. When I woke up, Cora was by my bedside, her eyes red and swollen. She said she had saved me. From that day on, I believed I owed her my life. Car were you driving? I asked. What? Cora looked flustered. I don't remember. It was an emergency. I remember now, I said suddenly. I remembered that night. In my hazy consciousness, I'd heard the sound of an engine. Not the low roar of a luxury car, but the rough, rattling noise of an old engine. Just like the sound of the pickup truck in the video. I bolted from the office and ran straight for the medical records archive. Aiden, where are you going? Cora shouted after me. I found my medical file from 3 years ago and scanned every detail. Time of admission, 3:17 a.m. Admitted by unidentified female. Subject presented with deep claw marks across her left shoulder. Wounds appear defensive, consistent with shielding another from an attack. Claw marks. I suddenly remembered. One night, in our past life, I'd walked in on Elena after her shower, and saw 3 faint scars on her left shoulder. I asked her where they came from. She just smiled and said it was an old accident. Did you find what you were looking for? Cora asked, breathless from running after me. I stared at her face. Cora, tell me the truth. What really happened 3 years ago? I already told you. You lied. I whispered, the word like poison on my tongue. Then my voice erupted into a roar. It was Elena. It was Elena who saved me, not you. Cora's face went white. What are you talking about? The pickup truck, the claw marks, all the evidence points to her. I stared her down. And you stole her credit. Cora panicked. Aiden, let me explain. I staggered, the world tilting. Explain the lies? For 3 years. Explain how you let me think I owed you my life. I remembered all the little things. Elena never mentioned that night. Even when I praised Cora for her bravery right in front of her, Elena would just smile quietly, never arguing. She knew the truth. But she chose to stay silent. I stumbled back, collapsing into a chair. A fool. I breathed, the realization crushing me. Gods, I've been such a damned fool. Aiden, are you listening to me? Cora's voice was in my ear, but it sounded a million miles away. A few days later I was sitting in the Alpha's seat in the Silvermoon Great Hall. Before me was a grand moon feast, a celebration for Cora becoming the new Luna. Crystal chandeliers glittered. The long tables were laden with exotic foods. Pack members were dressed in their finest formal wear. But I couldn't see any of it. My mind kept replaying that rainy night 3 years ago. It was Elena who had driven that old pickup truck onto the battlefield, who had dragged my unconscious body into the cab. It was Elena who had taken a blow from the bloodclaw pack for me, leaving permanent scars on her shoulder. And I had let her walk barefoot into the rain. Aiden. Cora's voice was sharper now. The elders are making a toast. You should respond. I mechanically raised my glass, but my mind was blank. I couldn't even remember what to say. Aiden seems tired. Elder Ilera said with concern. Perhaps he should get some rest. He's just excited, Cora said, clinging to my arm and beaming at everyone. After all, tonight is our big night. My gaze drifted to the corner of the hall. To her chair. The Luna's seat, carved with the sigil of the moon goddess. Empty. Cora followed my gaze, and her face instantly darkened. That's enough, she said, suddenly standing up. Everyone turned to look at her. Cora. I frowned. She ignored me and marched toward the chair. Why is this still here? Cora's voice was a shrill blade, slicing through the music. A ghost at my feast. Get it out of my sight. The chatter in the hall died down. Everyone watched uneasily. Marcus tried to smooth things over. Cora, it's just a chair. Just a chair? Cora sneered. It's an insult to me, to have the former Luna's seat at my coronation feast. As she spoke, she kicked the chair hard. It crashed to the floor with a loud thud. Her high heel left a black scuff mark on the ivory cushion. Cora. I shot to my feet, my voice as cold as a blade. Stop. She froze, clearly not expecting me to challenge her. Pick up the chair. I ordered a nearby servant. Aiden, what are you doing? Cora stared at me in disbelief. I walked up to her, my eyes like ice. The dignity of the Silvermoon pack is not so fragile that it can be threatened by a single chair. The hall was silent. A servant nervously righted the chair, and carefully wiped the scuff mark. Cora's face was flushed with humiliation. She opened her mouth to argue, but under my cold glare, she clamped it shut. Continue the feast, I said to the crowd, then turned and walked away from the head table. I needed air. Aiden, where are you going? Cora called after me, but I didn't look back. I walked out of the great hall and wandered aimlessly down the corridor. Before I knew it, I was on the 3rd floor. This was the Luna's private wing, so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. I stopped in front of a door. Elena's room. I pushed the door open and walked inside. And I froze. The room was completely empty. All the furniture was gone. The closets were bare, the bookshelves empty. Even the rug had been removed, leaving only the naked wooden floor. This had been Elena's world. Her books, her clothes, the plants she'd grown herself, the little trinkets she collected. Now there was nothing. I walked to the window. This was where she used to keep her favorite lavender plant. She said the scent calmed her, helped her think through business strategies. Now even the windowsill was bare. Her things. I murmured to the empty room. Where did they all go? I heard footsteps and turned to see Marcus standing in the doorway. Aiden, what are you doing here? Where are her things? My voice was hoarse. Everything that was in this room. Marcus's expression grew pained. Aiden, answer me. I roared. Who did this to Elena's room? Maku's sight. It was Cora. She said since Elena was gone there was no need to keep any of her belongings. What did she do with them? Marcus wouldn't meet my eyes. She had them burned, he said, his voice heavy. In the incinerator pit. The incinerator pit. The place we burned our garbage. I felt a wave of dizziness, and had to brace myself against the wall to keep from falling. When? This afternoon. Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Aiden, I tried to stop her, but she said it was the new Luna's decision. I didn't wait for him to finish. I turned and ran, bolting down the stairs and back towards the great hall. The feast was still in full swing, but I didn't care about propriety anymore. I burst into the hall, and everyone stared at me in shock. Cora was laughing with a group of distinguished ladies. When she saw me, the smile froze on her face. Who touched Elena's room? My voice boomed across the hall, my rage clear for everyone to hear. The music in the great hall screeched to a halt. Everyone stared at me, including Cora. Her face was still flushed from her cheerful conversation, but her eyes had turned wary. Aiden, what are you doing? She said, trying to maintain her smile. We have guests. Answer my question. I walked toward her, one slow step at a time. Who touched Elena's room? Cora's smile vanished completely. She glanced at the guests around us, then said dismissively, I did. What about it? What did you do with her things? I got rid of them, Cora shrugged. They were useless, just taking up space. My fists clenched at my sides. Where did you throw them? The incinerator pit, Cora said, as casually as if she were talking about the weather. It's about time all that junk was cleared out. Junk. She called it junk. The books Elena had carefully collected, the plants she had nurtured with her own hands, every gift she had ever prepared for me, every note she had ever written while working. To Cora, all of it was junk. Are you insane? My voice was a low growl, like a cornered beast. Those things belong to a woman you rejected. Cora cut me off, a vicious gleam in her eyes. Aiden, she's not your mate anymore. Why do you still care about her worthless trash? The guests started whispering among themselves. I could feel their eyes on me, but I didn't care. How long have they been burning? I demanded. Since this afternoon. They're probably all ash by now, Cora sneered. Don't worry, every last trace of that woman is gone. I turned and ran. Aiden, Cora yelled from behind me. Where are you going? The feast isn't over. I didn't answer. I didn't run. I fled. Fled my own stupidity, my own cruelty. The rain soaked through my formal suit in an instant. Lightning split the sky, illuminating my desperate sprint. The incinerator pit was at the edge of the territory, 3 kilometers from the pack house. The mud sucked at my feet, the rain lashed my face, but I kept going, fueled by a desperate, sickening hope. Finally, I saw the smoke rising from the pit. It was still burning. Orange flames flickered in the dark, rainy night, like the gateway to hell. I reached the edge of the pit and without a second thought, jumped in. The hot embers burned my skin, and the smoke choked me, but I ignored it. I clawed through the ashes, my voice a raw whisper. No, 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 please. There has to be something left. My hands were cut and burned by the hot coals, blood mixing with soot and mud, but I kept digging. In a pile of debris that hadn't completely burned, I found the remains of a photo album. The cover was destroyed, but a few photos inside had survived. I picked up the first one, my hands trembling. It was a picture from our first date. Elena, in a simple white dress, was smiling under a cherry blossom tree. The look in her eyes as she gazed at the camera was so pure, so full of trust. The second photo was more damaged. It was from my Alpha inauguration ceremony. Elena was standing beside me, her eyes filled with pride and love. I remembered that night. She had told me, Aiden, I know you will be the greatest Alpha. Only a corner of the third photo remained, but I recognized Elena's hand. She was fixing my tie, getting me ready for an important business negotiation. I kept digging through the ashes. I found her work journal. The cover was burned beyond recognition, but some of the pages inside were still legible. Aiden needs the Eastern mineral rights to secure his position. The Iron Wolf Pack's weakness is Bloodclaw spies may have infiltrated our business meeting. Need to set a countertrap. Aiden seems stressed today. I'll make his favorite steak tonight. Maybe that will help. Every page was about me. My career, my safety, my preferences. She kept every part of me in her heart. My tears mixed with the rain, dripping onto the charred pages. In a corner of the pit, I saw a small wooden object. I carefully dug it out. It was a hand-carved wolf head, only the size of my fist, but the craftsmanship was breathtaking. I remembered. It was a gift from Elena on our first Valentine's Day. She told me she had spent 3 months carving it by hand, hoping it would keep me safe. I had tossed it in a drawer and forgotten all about it. Now it was in my hand, warped by the fire, but still so intricate. I turned it over. Carved into the base, seared but still legible, were the words, "To my Aiden. Forever your Elena." I fell to my knees in the mud and ash, clutching the charred fragments of my life with her. A sound tore from my throat, not a cry, not a sob, but the raw, animalistic howl of a wolf who has lost his mate. The rain fell harder, but it couldn't wash away the agony in my heart. "Elder!" I screamed through our mind link, my voice echoing in the storm. "Find her for me. Please. Bring her back." Elena's POV. 3 years later. Congratulations, Lady Elena. The Thunder Pack has officially announced its surrender. My assistant's voice came through my earpiece, but my expression didn't change. I stood at the top of the Black Moon Tower, looking down at the city below. Neon lights flickered. The flow of traffic was a river of light. Every inch of this city was now under my control. "Handle the follow-up," I said flatly. "Absorb their assets according to standard protocol." "Yes, ma'am. One more thing," my assistant added. "The Silvermoon Pack sent another envoy. They're begging for a meeting. 3rd time this month." Silvermoon Pack. A cold smirk touched my lips. "Tell them I'm busy." "Understood." I turned off the earpiece and continued to admire the city lights. In 3 years, I had helped the Black Moon Pack conquer 12 rivals, including the newly surrendered Thunder Pack. 3 of them had once been the Silvermoon Pack's most important allies. I'd personally flipped them with offers they couldn't refuse. Our territory had expanded 5-fold. Our annual revenue now exceeded $100 billion. And the once mighty Silvermoon Pack? They struggled to even rank in the top 10 in North America. "What are you thinking about?" A familiar voice came from behind me. I didn't have to turn to know it was Kale. "Our next target," I said calmly. "What about the Tidrush Pack on the west coast?" Kale came to stand beside me, his shoulder brushing mine. He was a head taller than me, his powerful alpha presence filling the entire room. "Tonight is for celebrating," he said, his voice a low magnetic rumble. "Don't always think about work." I turned around. The top floor of the Black Moon Tower had been transformed into a lavish ballroom. The crystal chandeliers were even more dazzling than the ones in the Silvermoon Hall. The tables were laden with delicacies from around the world. The most powerful alphas in North America were all here. They looked at me with a mixture of awe and fear. 3 years ago, I was a rejected mate, cast out and left for dead. Now they whispered my name in fear and awe. "The Black Moon Queen." "Your Majesty," a young alpha approached, bowing respectfully. "Thank you for your hospitality tonight. The takeover of the Thunder Pack was absolutely brilliant." I nodded. "Thank you. Would you perhaps be interested in considering a partnership with my mountain pack?" he asked tentatively. "Email my assistant." I replied coolly. The young alpha left, looking thrilled. Kale watched all of this, a complex emotion in his eyes. "Come on," he said suddenly. "Join me on the terrace." I followed him out of the ballroom, and onto the open-air terrace. The night wind was cool against my skin. The city lights stretched to the horizon. "It's been 3 years, Kale said, his back to me. "Yes. You never asked me why I showed up that night." I looked at his broad back. "Because it doesn't matter." Kale turned to face me, his gaze intense. "What does matter to you then?" "Power," I answered without hesitation. "Only with enough power can you ensure you are never betrayed or abandoned." "Including by me?" The question caught me off guard. Kale took a step closer, his presence so strong the air seemed to thicken. "Elena," Kale said, his voice dropping low, "all business gone. I'm not asking for an alliance. I'm not asking for a strategist. I'm asking for you. As my mate. My queen. My everything." I looked at him, a storm of complicated feelings brewing inside me. Kale was a perfect alpha. Powerful, wise and respectful. He never treated me like an accessory, the way Aiden had. In the Black Moon Pack, I was the chief strategist, his most important ally and advisor. He asked for my opinion. He seated me beside him at important events. He defended my honor in front of everyone. You know my story, I said evenly. You know I once loved a man with everything I had. You know how he broke me. I know, Kale nodded. But that doesn't matter. The future is what matters. I'm not sure I can ever fully trust someone again, I admitted honestly. A mate bond means vulnerability. It means dependence. I'm not the same naive girl I was 3 years ago. Kale listened silently, not interrupting. Besides, I continued, you don't need a mate. You already have me as your ally and the loyalty of the entire Black Moon Pack. Why risk changing that? Kale was quiet for a long time. Then he reached out and gently cupped my cheek. Because I love you, he said, his voice a low fire. I don't love your mind for strategy, or the power you command. I love you. My heart skipped a beat. Elena, do you think I don't know that you stand by the window watching the moon when you can't sleep? Do you think I don't see the flicker of pain in your eyes when you're crafting one of your ruthless strategies? His thumb brushed my cheek, then drifted down to my shoulder, to the faint, silver scars hidden beneath my dress. I know their story, he said softly. I know the price you paid. I pushed him away abruptly. That's enough. It's not enough, Kale said, taking both of my hands in his. For 3 years I've watched you build this armor, this cold queen persona. But I know the real you is still underneath it all. I tried to pull away, but his grip was too strong. I will never betray you like he did. I will never let you get hurt again. Kale's eyes burned with a fire I hadn't seen before. Other alphas may not know how to cherish the light of the goddess, but I do. I swear I do. The moonlight bathed the terrace, casting a silver glow on everything. I looked into Kale's eyes. There was none of Aiden's old indifference, none of his false promises. Only sincere, unwavering resolve. I need time to think, I finally said. No you don't, Kale shook his head. Elena, you've been thinking for 3 years. He was right. For 3 years, we had fought side by side, conquering one rival after another. He had never once let me down, never betrayed me, never treated me as a pawn to be sacrificed. All right, I nodded. A look of surprise and joy flashed in Kale's eyes. You agree? I agree to try, I corrected him. But I have conditions. Name them. We are equal partners. I have an equal say in every decision. Of course. I will not change how I work. I am still the cold strategist. That's the woman I love. I looked at him, my heart set, and rose on my toes. Our lips met under the moonlight. The kiss wasn't one of wild passion. It was a seal. A promise. A pact forged in moonlight to build an empire together. When we parted, Kale's hand gently moved to my neck, and he placed his mark there. A warmth spread through my body. I could feel the mate bond forming between us. But this time was different. This time, it wasn't a feeling of dependence. It was a doubling of my own strength. 3 months later, the mating ceremony of Queen Elena and Black Moon Alpha Kale will be held next week. The news anchor announced from the TV in my office. I half listened as I signed documents. This will be the most lavish pack union in a decade. Political analysts believe this alliance will completely reshape the power dynamics of the North American werewolf world. My assistant knocked and entered. Lady Elena, all the invitations have been sent. Except for who? The Silver Moon Pack, he hesitated. They weren't on the invitation list. I kept my eyes on my work. That's correct. Also, he continued his report, we've received new intelligence. The Silver Moon Pack lost 3 more major clients last month. Their stock value has plummeted by 40%. Analysts predict they could face bankruptcy by the end of the year. I put down my pen. Anything else? The former Luna Cora has been exiled. Rumor is she's working a menial job in a small town in Canada. I nodded, my face a blank mask. And Alpha Aiden? I asked, Not sure why the words even left my mouth. He's not doing well, my assistant said carefully. He's reportedly drinking heavily and rarely makes public appearances. Elder Marcus has effectively taken over management of the pack. I closed the folder. I see. Have the car prepared. I'm going out. Where to, ma'am? Just for a drive around the city. The black, armored sedan moved through the city streets. I sat in the back, watching the familiar scenery pass by. This city was completely under my control now. Every building, every street, was a testament to my rise. Stop at the next light, I told the driver. I want to get out and walk. Yes, ma'am. The car stopped at the red light. I was about to open the door when someone started banging on the window. My driver was instantly on alert. Ma'am, we have a situation. I looked out the window, and my heart stopped. Aiden. He stood outside my car, a ghost of the alpha he used to be. Haggard, unshaven, his eyes bloodshot pits of despair. The fine suit was gone, replaced by a wrinkled jacket that smelled of stale liquor and regret. Elena. His voice was a hoarse rasp through the glass. Please just let me say one thing. I pressed the button, and the window slid down. What do you want to say? My voice was as cold as a winter wind. When Aiden saw my face, tears welled up in his eyes. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm sorry for everything I did. You don't need to be, I said flatly. There's nothing left between us to be sorry for. Yes, there is. Aiden was getting agitated. I know you saved me. I know where the scars came from. I know how wrong I was. People on the street were starting to stare. Some recognized us and began taking pictures. Driver, go, I ordered. Wait. Aiden pounded on the window frantically. Elena, give me a chance to explain. Please. I looked at him, this man I had once loved. This man who had shattered my heart. You didn't know? A laugh, sharp and cold as ice, escaped my lips. Aiden, you think this is about this life? You think I rejected you because of what you did this time? Aiden's golden eyes widened in horror. He froze, as if struck by lightning. You're reborn too, he stammered. I looked at him, the man who was once my entire world. Now he was a pathetic wreck on a street corner. And I suddenly felt nothing. Aiden. I said his name one last time. My voice held no hatred, only a dead, hollow calm. In our last life, your son with Cora murdered me. In this one, you destroyed yourself. Don't you see, Aiden? With or without me, you are the architect of your own ruin. That was always your fate. The light turned green. Drive, I said, raising the window and shutting him out of my world for good. The car pulled away from the intersection. In the rearview mirror, I saw Aiden still standing on the curb, like a statue forgotten by time. Back to Black Moon Tower, I told the driver. Yes, ma'am. I glanced at my phone. A dozen missed calls from various news outlets. Obviously, the scene on the street had already gone viral. I turned the phone off and leaned back, closing my eyes. The look of pure shock on Aiden's face was seared into my mind. He finally knew the whole truth, that we were both reborn. But what did it matter? Some mistakes can't be fixed, not even with a second lifetime. 2 weeks later. You are the most beautiful Luna I have ever seen. My makeup artist stood behind me, admiring my reflection in the mirror. I was wearing an ivory gown, its neckline encrusted with diamonds, the skirt cascading like a waterfall. My hair was swept into an elegant updo, crowned with a tiara of pearls and diamonds. This was how the Black Moon Queen was supposed to look. Elena, are you ready? Kale's voice came from outside the door. Come in. He entered, and when he saw me, his eyes lit up with awe. You take my breath away, he said, walking to my side and placing a soft kiss on my forehead. Ready to conquer the world? I looked at our reflection in the mirror. The powerful alpha and the cool queen. A perfect match. Of course. We walked out of the prep room and into the main hall. The entire venue was decorated like a fairy tale. Thousands of white roses filled the air with their scent, and crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead. The most powerful pack leaders in North America sat in the guest section, their eyes filled with reverence and envy. I took Kale's arm and we walked slowly toward the altar. Every step on the red carpet was a step toward my victory. 3 years ago, I walked barefoot from the Silvermoon territory. Today, I walked in million-dollar heels toward my throne. We are gathered here today, the officiating elder began, to witness the union of two of the most powerful souls. I wasn't really listening. My eyes scanned the guests. Politicians, tycoons, the leaders of every major pack. They had all come, except for the Silvermoon pack. I didn't see Aiden anywhere in the crowd, and a strange, hollow feeling bloomed in my chest. And now, will the bride and groom please exchange tokens of their bond? The elder's voice pulled me back to the present. Cale took a ring from his pocket. It was a massive diamond that glittered under the lights. Elena, he looked at me, his eyes full of devotion. Will you rule this world with me? I was about to answer when I saw him, a shadow at the edge of the light. Aiden. He stood outside the glass walls, a silent observer of the life he'd thrown away. The suit was immaculate, but it was a hollow shell around a broken man. His eyes met mine. I saw an abyss of pain and regret. He wasn't just a wounded animal. He was a wolf with its leg in a trap, forced to watch its world, its mate, move on without him. Elena. Cale felt my hesitation. I tore my gaze away and looked at the man in front of me. The man who truly loved me. I will. Cale slipped the ring onto my finger, and then I placed the matching band on his. You may now kiss your mate, the elder declared. Cale gently cupped my face and leaned in. Our lips were about to meet. I couldn't stop one last glance outside. Cale felt it. After the kiss, his lips brushed my ear. Any regrets? He whispered. A quiet test. The hall erupted in thunderous applause. Flashes went off everywhere as reporters captured the moment. I didn't answer with words. I answered with action. I pulled him down for another kiss, deeper this time. A kiss that wasn't a promise, but a declaration. A choice. My choice. It lasted a long time, so long that the applause grew even louder. When we finally parted, I looked outside again. The spot where Aiden had been standing was empty. He was gone. The road ahead, we conquer it together, okay? I said, looking into Cale's eyes. His own gaze was full of adoration as he leaned down to kiss my forehead. Okay.